What are you drawing? I can't even draw a stick figure. Oh, I'm painting these simple beginner-friendly mushrooms. When is the last time that you tried to paint something? Oh no, I'm not talented. Today I've got a beginner-friendly gouache tutorial for you. I tried to keep it as simple as possible. Of course, since this is a YouTube video, it's a little bit sped up though. So if you'd like more step-by-step guide instructions, consider checking out my courses. But now let's get started with the painting. I'm gonna be using my sketchbook, and as you can see, the drawing from the previous page has bled through a bit, but that's not gonna be a problem. Here you can see all of the brushes that I used for this painting. A size 6, 4 and 8 round brush from various brands. And now I'm starting with the sketch, and I did that pretty hard because I'm gonna use gouache, so we are going to want to see through our sketch still after the painting. So make sure you sketch a little bit more deeply or darker than you would usually do with watercolors, where I would sketch a lot more lightly. Here you can see the outlines of all of my sketch marks that I've made here. You can screenshot that if you want and trace it onto your page. And then I started with the background, and I actually painted around all of this stuff that I sketched first. You could, if you want to, skip the sketching part and just paint the entire page in this darker tone and then paint on top of that. But I find it a lot easier to do it like this, even though it might take a little while to draw around everything. But we have the sketch here, which makes it a lot easier, and we're not covering it up with a lot of paint. And also, if your gouache isn't very opaque, which highly depends on the quality of the paint, this is gonna be a much better technique. You can see that now I'm using a pink tone. I brightened it up a little bit though, so I was much happier with this brighter tone here. And I'm just coloring in all of the mushrooms and all of the things that we have here in different colors that I really liked. And I also added some sparkles to the background. I think that adds a little bit of a magical touch and makes it a lot prettier. You can skip that if you want to. It depends on whether you like the sparkles or not. It's just personal preference. I personally really like them, so I added them in some of the colors that I used for the foreground. So I did some in pink, and later on I think I also did some in a green tone. And then I painted the bottom parts of the mushrooms, and I just went back and forth a little bit with this painting. As always, you can use all kinds of colors that you prefer, or you can copy the ones that I used here. I also made a little bit of an accident, had a little bit of an accident here, but covered that up with a lighter tone later on. So this is not a problem with gouache. If you mess up a little bit, you can always cover that up. And speaking of covering up, I kind of covered up my lines here. So this is why I didn't put it in the sketch reference, because I drew over it anyways, but we are gonna get those back. And now I'm covering up the little mistake that I made previously. And yeah, just coloring everything in, honestly. I feel like this is one of the simpler tutorials that I've done so far. But if this is still a little bit too quick for you, I get it, because it's just a YouTube video, very sped up. I highly recommend checking out my courses. They're much more step by step, and I might do some simple landscape paintings again, a course around that. Let me know if you'd be interested in that. I'm considering doing that again in the future and just making an updated version. I've done a few courses with landscape paintings in the past, but I would like to do it in this more illustrative style that you can see here. So if this video does well, if people actually want to see more content like this, I might be doing more videos like this, and I might even do a more extensive course version of this as well. And you can see I'm using this teal color right now, and I used a green color for the leaves. And I'm just using a whole bunch of different gouache paints. These are different brands. I always try to list the brands on my plate in the description box down below. But if you want to get like a beginner introductory set, I highly recommend getting an introductory set by Winsor & Newton. I really like the quality of those, and they have good colors that you can mix. But this is just a mess on my plate, and I'm just trying to reuse those colors again and again and just use up the plate at one point. You can see now I'm adding these squiggles, but later on I covered them up. So I made sure that they were just a very quick mention in this video and not too long because I covered them up. And then I added in these details on the leaves that you can see me do right now. The lighter ones are barely visible in the end, but that's okay. I did some more details later on. And you can see that I'm also doing some details on our mushroom here, and just went from dark to light as well, which is a good option with gouache. You don't always have to go light to dark as we do with watercolors. You can do the lighter colors on top of the darker tones sometimes, and that really gives us so much range. We can go in all different directions and we can cover up our mistakes very easily. And you can see now I'm adding outlines and more details to our other mushrooms. So I have this slightly darker tone, slightly darker pink tone, and I'm doing all of these lines. I have no idea what these are called in English. I only know, I think they're called Lamellen in German. But if you know what these are called, this bottom part of the mushroom, these lines, let me know in the comments down below. I'm sure, as always, that there's somebody out there who knows that and who can tell me all of the parts of the mushroom. Then I added in some more of these squiggles, and I don't know, now looking back at it, I don't hate it as much as I did when I first did them. I think the green ones were okay, but then when I added the pink ones, it was just too much, too busy, didn't like it. So I tried my best to remix the background color and just paint it on top of it. If you do this, make sure to keep in mind that the dark tones with gouache dry lighter. So you can see here when it dried, it kind of got more into the color that was initially there, so it blended in much more. So always keep that in mind when you remix colors. Lighter tones dry darker and darker tones dry lighter. This is very important with gouache. I think it's the only paint medium where it changes so much. And yeah, I'm adding in all of these veins to the leaves, and I did a little bit of an outline on every leaf as well, and some more veins on the other leaves as well. And just went a little bit back and forth with all of the different ones. Always making sure that I don't really touch the paint with my hands. So sometimes you might see me jump from one part of the painting to another. That is usually because there's something wet in the way and I have to wait for it to dry. And using a heating tool or a hairdryer is not always the best idea with gouache because sometimes it bubbles up or cracks. So it's best to let it dry naturally. And yeah, I added in some dots to this little mushroom here, and we're already heading towards the end. So here's our finished painting. Again, let me know in the comments down below if you would like to see more gouache paintings in this style, and I'd be happy to film some more for you. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!